Tom, let's go to practice that we got a chance to watch yesterday. Your early impressions of probably the only, I hope I'm wrong, but maybe the only practice we'll get to see between now and the first game.
Well, you never know. And how about the Tommy Kraft sighting yesterday in Fayetteville? It was a wonderful thing.
You knew it was a big event if I rolled in, baby.
There was, you could tell that we've been a little bit, starved of Razorback stuff because since Omaha, this is the first major get-together, and boy, we were in full attendance yesterday. It felt like so, but my impressions were this is a rigorous, very very physical practice that Eric Musselman conducts. It's a lot of up and down. I love that Warriors drill where they go down, and if the middle guy isn't running, Musselman makes them do that thing again, and they ended up scoring 168 on one of the three that we saw segments of the Warriors drill where one guy runs down and makes a layup, that's 1 point, and then the two wing guys shoot threes. And to score 168 points in 3 minutes is, you got to have a great pace going. But I thought one of Anthony Black's comments in the post-practice to us was that sometimes their defense looks so good that it makes their offense look a little off stride. We saw bits of that yesterday. Nick Smith is going to be a really good basketball player. He had some perfect right-on-time feeds for dunks, one to Jordan Walsh and one to one of the Mitchell brothers. And then he had a move. I don't know if you guys remember this one. He had a double hesitation move. I can't remember who was defending him, but probably 16 feet out, he kind of feigned like he was going to drive and backed off. And all the while he's moving forward. And then he feigned again. And so the defender is now thinking he's going to pass, and then he drove by him for a left-hand layup. So there's a lot of talent on this team. The battle for playing time is going to be really intense when they get in practice. I'm sure everybody's going to get some designated minutes in Europe, but there's some guys on this team who are really talented athletes who are going to have to deal with reserve minutes.
I think that was Ricky Council, if I remember that correctly. And you were talking about Anthony, what he said about the defense in the press conference. Nick Smith had some really positive things to say about the Wichita State transfer and said if anyone tries to block him this year, they're going to get baptized, which means they're going to get dunked on pretty hard. This is a guy that is probably the most athletic guy on the team, as Justin Smith was 2 years ago. What were your impressions of Council yesterday, Tom?
Oh, man, you can just tell. Just a really good athlete. The guy is 6'6". And so you think to Eric Musselman's first team, and by the way, they got a lot better as the season went on. They did have a mid-conference struggle, but they got better. And this is guys he inherited, and they're playing Adriel Bailey at center at 6'6". And now you got perimeter guys like Council, 6'6", Nick Smith, 6'5", Anthony Black, who is, what is he listed at, 6'7". So it's just going to be, they're going to have linked three-point shooting ability and big guys, and shot blockers. So, wow, this is going to be the best assemblage of talent. And if they can push the right buttons, which they've shown they can do, a team that's built to make a run.
Yeah. Tom, what were your observations of the coaching? And I know it's one practice, and we got to see about an hour's worth of drills and scrimmage, but it was Eric Musselman. His voice was the most prominent, as you would suspect. Anthony Ruda and Gus Archibald seemed to be working the most with the teams, and a lot of supporting voices around the court. What was your observations on the way these guys were coached yesterday from what we got to see?
It's constant. It's nonstop, and you're hearing it like Lonnie Brewer over on the side, and all the rest of the auxiliary dudes are calling out stuff, and it's full participation. It's a thing to behold. The pace at which they play, the physicality they play with. So when they get in big conference games, getting pushed and bumped and all that's not a big deal. They're used to it, and the coaches are very involved. They were doing drills where after every stoppage of play, both teams met for a few seconds, and the coaches would run in and call whatever the next play is, defensive set or offense, and must let them coach.
Yeah.
And it's just a thing to behold. Like and of course the air conditioning was off because they're getting ready to go to Europe, and these gyms are not going to be air conditioned. So there was a little bit of an element of, it was warm, it was high intensity. This is practice 3, y'all. It shows you what an upper level D1 program that carries a lot of traits of an NBA franchise looks like.
Yeah. One of the other things I noted, anytime there was, communication from the head coach, he brought the team just came together, circled up, locked arms. Mm-hmm. He was in the middle. There was a lot of eye contact. There wasn't a lot of singling out. And I don't, we were there for one practice. I assume it's this way every time. But I thought it was interesting how they purposefully communicate when he wants to deliver a message to the team. There was rarely, and there were a few instances of individual coaching sessions, if you will, from Musselman. But for the most part, when he had a message to deliver, they circled up. He gave his message. Practice continued.
Man, these are all. It's like body language points, and the way you communicate with people. It's all being done in a way that's it's very modern. Players don't feel like a few times. I won't call out any names. He would say, "Why did you not run on that play? Is there a reason why?" One of the Mitchell brothers. Why were you not running on that drill? We've got to run, and so he asks them. It's not a berating. It's not foul languagey stuff. Although I think some of that happens, but it's just it's a positive way. And then when you see a guy get gotten onto some, then another coach will usually circle back around and tell him this is why it happened. And I saw Ronnie Brewer do that. Yeah. The one time the kid Barry Dunning, why weren't you fronting the post?
Yep.
We were going to front the post on this, and he asked Barry why, and Barry gave an explanation. He says, "Well, we're going to front the post," and it's not super harsh deal. And so I don't know. I got a very positive feeling out of the way everything was handled.
Yeah. Backcourt, would you say, I think Nick Smith's probably the most likely on the roster to be a starter. Would you say Anthony Black's number 2, or how do you think if you had to give an early guess to who might comprise those first 5 in January even? Who would be your guesses? And I'll just go ahead and give you Nick Smith because I think we'd all put him on our list.
Yeah, he's a special talent. And when you think about all the talent, the ratings of these guys, there's a reason why you're a 5-star basketball player. Your agility, your athleticism, your shot, all that kind of stuff. And so you can see Jordan Walsh's athleticism as he's listed at 6'7", 200-pounder. You see that. He's got a chance to start. One of the Mitchell brothers. They're going to be able to do their lineup. They can play really big if both Mitchell boys are on the court and with Kamani at the same time, and they can play really small. Musselman pointed out yesterday, Devo Davis played some power forward for them in their tournament run a couple years ago. Power forward, and he's 6'4". So they're going to really be able to do matchup lineups. I think Black would have a really good chance. I think he's got a ways to go defensively, but man, what a nice-looking athlete. Here's a curveball in your question about who's going to start. Muss announced this yesterday. If you have been, if there's any reason you've been disciplined, you will not be starting. And if you've been asked to leave practice, you probably won't be starting for a few games. So if there's a guy who we really think is going to start, and then he's not a starter in the first game in Italy or Spain, then he might have been asked to leave practice during this time.
One of the things I noticed yesterday, Tom, watching Nick Smith Jr., is he did not miss a 3-point attempt that I watched. That's not to say during the practice he did not miss an attempt the entire time, but shooting is something that really was hurting this team last year, but they still managed to get around it. Eric touched on that in the post-game press conference. Nick Smith Jr., Anthony Black, Joseph Pinion. How do you think this team has a much better outlook when it comes to shooting the 3 ball this year?
Yeah, they do. And before, this sounds like everything they do is just wonderful and great. They're going to win. They're going to go to the Final Four. They do have some things to overcome, and that was one of them. I looked up the stat. I think they ranked 320 out of 350 teams in three-point shooting, and Musk pointed out how rare it was that you're in the Final Eight, and that's what your three-point shooting looked like. So they are determined to be a better three-point shooting team and a better shot-blocking team. They think they've added the pieces to do that. And, yes, I saw Nick Smith Jr. miss a three or two or a few. I mean, they jack up so many on that Warriors drill that, you can't be 1,000%. But even some guys who are freshmen like Pinion and Ford, saw them making three-pointers. So I've got to think that they're going to be pushing more up to the 33, 34% mark on three-point shooting this year.
When you look at Nick individually, no one's had this much hype stepping foot on campus overall since Mitch Mustain. In basketball, it's been coreless. His coach, Johnny Rice, came on with us a couple months back and said Nick is the perfect person to handle that pressure. He mentioned at some point they're going to hit a wall as freshmen and that Devo's going to be a part. How important is Devontae Davis with Nick and Eric Musselman touching on his presence and just his friendship he has with what's assumed to be your best player?
Yeah, that's a great point. And it's a wonderful thing that Devo Davis can do that. He's over there coaching, and Musk said yesterday that they stopped practice one day. They were doing some drill, and Devo Davis was over on the sideline coaching up the drill. And Musk stopped practice and said, why is he doing that? And he got a bunch of answers from the players. He says, the reason why is because he's been doing Elite Eight. He knows what it takes to get there, and, the intensity and attention to the detail on the drill. And so he's pointing out to the team, listen to your teammate. This guy's been through it. Nick Smith I saw him showing leadership in the huddles yesterday, in addition to great ball handling skills and just being a guy who listens. I mean, Musk called him out for something yesterday. I think it was not defending in the backcourt. He had gone back to half court. So why are you not up here? We're defending all the way. So leaders, freshmen who come in with great hype, who are great listeners and great leaders, and great work ethic, go a long way. And Musk pointed out that Moses Moody, as a freshman, was never late for anything that he went to. Showed up early, put in the time, and now he's an NBA first-round pick. So I think they feel like Nick Smith is going to follow in that mode.
Yeah. Tom, we got a couple of minutes left. I want to ask you some football questions because looks like practice will start a week from tomorrow. What are some of the early things? I know they'll be in helmets and shorts, but other than roll call, what are the important things the first few days of Sam Pittman's camp that begins looking like next Friday?
Right. Well, to me, they look like they were in really nice form at the end of spring, and they brought in so many new guys. So it's how quickly can the guys who haven't been on campus, a couple receivers, a couple O-linemen, the guys who haven't been through it, how well do they retain in what they've been able to learn, and how quickly can they kind of get back up into gear on not just the rudimentary parts of, you want to get through, how we practice, the tempo we practice, and let's refine our schemes, let's refine our checks. And if they can get through, and say in the first practice in pads, they're going at a really good clip, then they could be ahead of the game.
Yeah. What can you be really good at? To me, I think that they've got to be really good at running the ball with the running backs. Can you get first downs there until you really prove and develop that you can move the sticks through the passing game consistently? So I want to see how these running backs, Tom, perform early in the camp. And I know until you get to a point where you're scrimmaging, that's hard to really read. But I think they're going to have to rely on those running backs more than we might think early in this season.
Yeah, fully agreed. And here's the thing. Their rushing last year, y'all, it snuck up on me. I mean, you know that you knew they were good. You know that they have to get a little bit better on some short, third and short, fourth and short conversions. But with KJ, I mean, they led the Power 5 teams in rushing last year. And, the Texas game and a couple of others where they really blew it out, I think Ole Miss rushing, that helped. But still, when you average what they did, 220-something, then you're a really good run team.
Yeah.
And if they can lean on that, make teams honor that, then that's just going to help KJ have a little bit better windows, a little bit more man coverage to work the pass game.
Yeah, I mean, I know that passing's flashy and fun, but, man, the way they ran the ball against Penn State is what breaks another team's will. And if they could pick up kind of where they left off, that's a big if. They're going to win some football games, moving the chains and scoring touchdowns, running the football.
No doubt about it. And they can just rotate. I mean, Dominic was a great – the way he came on last year was great. Rocket Sanders catching the ball, great out of the backfield. A.J. Green, great speed. I mean, Dubinion had a really nice spring. They've got options.
Our partners at BetOnline continue to be the #1 source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all the latest odds, news, and sports developments, including this year's Wimbledon Finals, Major League Baseball, the latest fighting news, and even next season's early NFL futures. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code BLEAV. That's BLEAV to get the bonus and get into the action. Bet online, where the game starts.